1, 2, 3. Yes, I'm using the DJI mic. So can you check out the audio?
Hold on, I'm in the bathroom.
Okay. That's fine. I'm put these headphones in so I can see if I could hear it as well.
So Officer Jones, so when you talk with Chief Executive, that's good. So we small turnout for the long, and then we get ready to go get some of the students to come over here. Okay, so this good. Just right. That's going to be in the auditorium. Right here, we set up right here outside, right here in the hallway, right here. I'm just letting you know I'm here now. So small alarms, it's going to be mostly of these students, and so these students should know how to. Okay.
Hold on, Cannon. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm talking into the DJI lavalier microphone. Hold on. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Just talk. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2.
Okay, yeah, we're good.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Tina, I got it. Tina, we're good. Ready?
Let me get back to students. Come on, Frank. You know how to start learning. You ready? All right. Start lining up. We're ready. Can we go get some of the students? Let's go get some of the students. We're ready to get started. So can you grab the students?
How is the run of show about to go?
Excuse me?
How's the run of show about to go?
What you mean run of show? Roland's finna do everything. I'm gonna make my presentation, and then I'm gonna open it up to questions, and then that's it. Yeah, that's why I need to get some students. Right now, we're going to use a little more talk for everybody. I just want some more students and everything. I just want some more students. Let's see. Is that trash can in the way, G-Bo? Is it in the way? Okay. And then, all right, so the alarms, y'all can start filling in. A few on the back. And probably just go ahead and move that trash can out the way. Probably be good to move that trash. Just go ahead and move that trash can further down. So all alarm and students, we need y'all behind us.
We want to get started. Can we get everybody who's going to stand in support to come on stand behind the president?
She gonna get the students. Right. It's okay. She gonna get the students. Right here, Viola gonna be right here, my vice president. So leave that room for her. Let's go.
Make sure your phones are.
Oh yeah.
Turn your cell phones on, please. That's a good idea.
Put your cell phones off silent. It won't take long. Baby, come on.
Yeah.
Alright, so I just unplug that, I'm going to boom it. Okay, you should be hearing boom right now. Okay?
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right, I'm ready when you are, Roland.
Yeah. Okay.
The SJ president, we'll get the SJ president in. He's right there.
Come, you want? He good. He's good. Let me know when you're ready, bro.
We ready?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this press conference hosted by the National Alumni Association of Prairie View A&M University. I am the National President, Mark Falls. Today we gather to issue a call to action to achieve equity and justice for Prairie View A&M University. As many of you know, Prairie View A&M University is a historic institution founded in 1876 as the Alta Vista Agricultural and Mechanical College for colored youth. Despite being designated an institution of the first class, according to the Texas Constitution, Prairie View A&M University continues to face systemic inequities that prevent it from reaching its full potential. The federal government committed to providing financial support to Prairie View A&M University so long as states match that level of support. Although our 1890 land-grant university continues to produce productive people, the state of Texas fails to provide the same level of one-to-one matching dollars as compared to the University of Texas and Texas A&M University. The Texas Constitution specifies that the state's public universities are to be classified into 3 tiers, with the institution of the first class being the most prestigious. A public university that received this designation is supposed to meet certain criteria related to academic quality, research, and reputation. Although the Texas State Constitution does indeed place Prairie View A&M University on par with other Texas institutions of the first class, this has not been the case in practice. I'm sad to say that in 3 short years, Prairie View A&M University will be celebrating its 150-year anniversary, but it still lacks the proper funding, it still lacks the resources and representation necessary for building nationally ranked academic programs, securing Carnegie Level 1 research status and funding, and attaining quality facilities, equipment, and faculty. This is due to unequal treatment that Prairie View A&M University continues to receive from the state of Texas and the Texas A&M University system. A significant part of the problem is the governance structure under which Prairie View A&M University operates. In its 147 years of existence, this university has never had representation on the Texas A&M University System Board of Regents. Furthermore, the city of Prairie View has been chronically underdeveloped. If you ever been to Bryan College Station and you compare Bryan College Station to Prairie View, you'll find out that the city of Prairie View has been chronically underdeveloped despite the Texas A&M University system owning a sizable portion of the surrounding land. This places an undue burden on the quality of life for students, faculty, and staff, and reduces the attractiveness of the campus for potential students and faculty. While some progress has been made, thanks to people like the late state legislator
and friend of Prairie View A&M University, Wilhelmina Delco, there's still much work to be done. This is why the National Alumni Association of Prairie View A&M University is calling for immediate action right now to ensure that our university is treated fairly and is provided with resources it needs to truly become an institution of the first class, just like Texas A&M University and the University of Texas. Towards this goal, the National Alumni Association of Prairie View A&M University will be creating a sesquicentennial commission to study the matter of Prairie View A&M University succeeding, separating from the Texas A&M University system as a potential step in the right direction.
Right.
The National Alumni Association also calls for the following actions, but not limited to. Number one, increasing funding for Prairie View A&M University that matches that of other Texas institutions of the first class. Number two, amending the state law to allow Prairie View A&M University to access 1/3 share of the available university funds interest from the permanent university fund. Most of you don't know, if you read the Texas State Constitution, there are only 3 first institutions. There are only 3 tiers. Texas, University of Texas, Texas A&M University, and Prairie View A&M University. For as the PUF fund, the interest on the PUF fund from the availability university funds, University of Texas get 2/3. Texas A&M get 1/3. We are a first-class institution in the state of Constitution, just like Texas, just like A&M. Number 3, ensuring permanent representation for Prairie View A&M University on the Texas A&M System Board of Regents and all relevant Texas A&M University System committees. Number 4, developing the surrounding city of Prairie View to create a vibrant and thriving community for students, faculty, and residents, so that students don't have to travel down the road to Sci-Fi. If you've ever been to Bryan College Station, it looks like a miniature Houston, Texas, and it's the same land grant. Started at the same time with Prairie View. There's no way that the city of Prairie View should be looking the way that it's looking today. Number 5, creating a school of public policy for this university to increase the broad pattern of democracy to produce vibrant and thriving communities. We're holding them accountable what's already written down in the state constitution and in the Texas Higher Education Code, title number 3, subchapter B, where it lists Prairie View. Number 6, investing in research and faculty development programs at Prairie View A&M University to promote innovation and technological advancement. Number 7, fulfilling outstanding programmatic and building commitments, fully funding the state-of-the-art facility that can host the Texas Institute of the Preservation of History and Culture of our university, and the establishment of a full-service and nationally significant African American Museum of Texas at Prairie View A&M University that is already called out in the Higher Education Code. Number 8, implementing a juvenile crime prevention center in all Texas counties to receive agency status. Establishing a fully accredited medical school here at the university to prepare students for entry to medical professions. Number 10, carrying out the university's mission to support the black communities in the rural and urban areas. That's what Prairie View was created to do. Number 11, executing the university's original mission by making the extension program an agency and not a program. We have the agriculture extension program here. It should be an agency. If you're an agency, you can receive money through the government, allowing us to be in every county in the state. Number 12, and they're not limited to these actionable items, making Prairie View A&M University a Sea Grant, a Space Grant, and a technology institution of the first class. It amazed me, Texas A&M started at a land grant, but now they're a Sea Grant. They're a Space Grant. Well, Prairie View is a first class institution also. We are a flagship institution just like them. And so, as I come to a close, I want to thank alums who traveled far and near. I want to thank you students for sharing in this here National Alumni Association press conference. The National Alumni Association urges the Texas A&M University System Chancellor, in whom I've already met, and the Texas Governor to make immediate actions to rectify the historical and ongoing oppression of Prairie View A&M University, which was established as a branch of the Agriculture Experiment Station, the Hatch Act of 1887. Most of y'all don't know Prairie View was an experiment. And as a land grant college of the Morrow Act in 1890, thus beginning the tradition of agriculture, research, and community service in the city of Prairie View, which continues today. The creation of a commission to study the matter of Prairie View A&M University, separating from the Texas A&M system, as well as our call to action list of demands are necessary to ensure that Prairie View A&M University can truly become a preeminent institution of the first class. Let me remind you what a little girl from Wheatley High School in 5th Ward, the last of 12 children who studied at Dillard and Harvard universities, who became the first African American president of an Ivy League institution, who also became the first African American woman to serve as president of Prairie View A&M University. I quote, Dr. Ruth Simmons said, "Fighting racism and discrimination and upholding justice must always be among our highest callings." So, alums, students, allies, it's time for us to seize the moment. I say it's time for us to seize the moment.
Yeah.
I say it's time for us to seize the moment.
Yeah.
I say it's time for us to seize the moment.
Yes, it's time for us to seize the moment. Yeah.
And there's power. Listen to me. There's power in unity.
That's right.
Together we stand, but divided we fall. And so I want to keep this collective force going. They know that we're on the way. I've already met with Chancellor Shaw. The first meeting was very productive. Dr. Ruth is going to be able to sign the diplomas.
Yeah.
Dr. Ruth is going to be here on commencement day. And so the National Alumni Association, we're calling on every student, every alum, every ally, even in the legislative branch, at the federal level. And let me share this with you. before I entertain any questions. Somebody brought to my attention when the Constitution was written, let's say the land grant in 1890. It was written in 1890. Do you think it benefited them or it benefited us? And so we're up against a system, you all. It's not against an individual, it's not against one person. We're up against a system that's been going on from generation to generation to generation. And if this generation does not seize the moment, they're going to continue to do what we have allowed them to do. I am of the opinion a person can only do to you what you allow them to do. And it's the time. I say it's time, y'all. It's time. It's time to let them know that Prairie View is a flagship organization. That's right. It's a first-class institution, just like the University of Texas, Texas A&M University. Are there any questions?
You talked about the meetings with Chancellor John Sharp. Did you present any of these items to him, and what was the response?
Yes, some of the items that I am introducing today, the African American Museum was intriguing to him. When Dr. Maya Cummins and I met with him in the first meeting, it was very intriguing, meaning that took a lot of the conversation. Most of you don't know it. I think some of our history is located in the architecture building, somewhere on the 3rd floor. But if you read the Higher Education Code, we should already have a museum. And so it intrigued him. So that first meeting, we did not get any commitments. And that's what we need as we move forward, commitments. One thing he wanted me to share with you all, that when he died, he won't on his epitaph that I love Prairie View A&M University.
Show us the money.
Yeah, right. So you talked about what's in the Higher Education Code. So if that's in the code, why hasn't it happened?
Because we have not been holding them accountable. We have not been holding them accountable. I'm talking about the National Alumni Association. Is our job alone to hold the university accountable, the A&M system accountable, and the state governor accountable. So we can't blame nobody but ourselves. That's why when I took office, I started the Government Relations Advisory Council so that we can address these issues from a political perspective. We're focusing on fundraising. That's what they want us to do, focus on fundraising. Let's focus on the political side. Yes. I looked at some data, I think because PWIs, they got started in 1862, and perhaps Frank will correct me if I get it wrong, but they started in 1862 as a land grant. They're getting their money. They're getting their money. I think that the federal government gave Texas A&M $50 million, where the state of Texas gave them $196 million. And so we as alums, we have to stay focused. I challenge you, go read the Texas State Constitution. Go read Title III of Higher Education. Everything that we're trying to hold them accountable is already written down. But we have not, I'm talking about the National Alumni Association, been in existence for 121 years. We have not addressed this from a political standpoint. Now is the time.
That's a political standpoint. What about a legal standpoint? So Alvin Chambliss used to be at Texas Southern, led the lawsuit against the state of Mississippi, that historic funding. $577 million settlement in Maryland. Tennessee State is fighting for their money. And so are you also demanding a state committee do an audit that has Prairie View been historically underfunded and determine what that number is, and will you consider suing the state of Texas?
Yes. The answer to that is yes. You want to elaborate on that some more, Frank?
Yes, we're going to take the same actions that would. Yes,
Close to watching, so state your name.
My name is Frank Jackson. I serve as the Government Relations Officer with the National Alumni Association.
Go ahead.
Yes, the National Alumni Association is committed to take whatever action is necessary for us to receive our fair funding. That includes legal action, just as we had to do during the OCR settlement agreement, and that yielded some returns on that action. But we need to go further and demand what we need to do. When we take this kind of legal action, we seem to get people's attention, and we start getting what's rightfully due for these students here at this great university.
And for the folks who don't know about that OCR settlement, explain that.
That's the Office of Civil Rights settlement. It was a settlement, and it came out of the Ayers case, and they said there were vestiges of de jure segregation still evident in both Prairie View and Texas Southern University, and they had to remove that, but they kind of did it in a roundabout way. They created programs, built buildings, and then we had to go and recruit students. We should now be at somewhere around 12,000 students in order to break even with the buildings and the programs that were created. And so we're trying to get this thing up front and deal with it before it even gets off the ground by getting the kind of money we need to do what it needs to be done to uplift this great university.
And so when you're talking about, again, the level of resources, one of your demands is that potentially breaking apart from the A&M system. So would that mean having your own board of trustees, just like Texas Southern University?
Yes, so stay right there, Frank. They can hear. Dr. A.R. Thomas wrote a think tank policy back in the early 2000s, and the goal is that we're going to pull all the brightest minds of Prairie View that produces productive people, and we're going to do a think tank, and we're going to look at the advantage and the disadvantage of staying in the A&M system. Okay, you got to look at the advantages and disadvantages of staying in the Texas A&M system. If we find out that the disadvantages outweigh the advantages, that's when legal pursuit will start, and we'll put together a plan on how we're going to separate from the system.
Last question for me. Obviously, Dr. Simmons, her letter, she called on Prairie View alumni and students to actually stand up and fight on behalf of the university. Moving forward, will you stay in contact with her to help shape and form this since she's no longer affiliated with the university?
So I want to share with everyone, Dr. Ruth the Truth is fully engaged. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's all I want to say. Dr. Ruth the Truth is fully engaged.
And lastly, you say she'll be here at commencement, and when is that?
May the 13th.
Okay.
May the 13th.
That's it for me.
Anyone have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask you, we have 3 of our former city mayors up here, and I think it was your tenet number 4 where you talked about the revitalization of the city. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, why is it a good idea for that to be presented for Texas A&M when every time they buy land in the city, it takes money, revenues, from our property tax rolls, because they don't pay property tax because they're a state entity, which means it diminishes the amount of revenue that the city has with no plan of making that up. So why is that why would we want Texas A&M to take on that obligation?
Okay. Dr. Brown, let me answer that as I can. Prairie View A&M University is a land grant institution. As a land grant, they're supposed to be studying why. Why don't we have a grocery store? Why don't we have a bank in Prairie View? It's not that nobody tried. Every administration that I know of in this city since 1969 has tried to uplift the quality of life here at Prairie View. But for some reason, either redlining or otherwise, it just didn't happen. Look like development jumps all over us. And then we have not studied the situation enough to where we can say, is this by us reacting emotionally, or is it some planned event going on that we are unaware of? We know that when this university was established, it was deliberately placed out here in a rural area, in a hostile rural area. And it was here on an old plantation. And the people that established Prairie View, they were northern businessmen and the southern aristocracy. And they devised a way to use education as a technique for social control. So to what extent is that still going on? We don't know, but it's the mission of the land grant to study this, to help us work through this. If they see something going on in the city, they should work with us. They see a chamber, they see a 4B, they see the city government. They should be out there studying. That's what a land grant is supposed to do. That's what Texas A&M did over in College Station. They worked with the city, gave them the data that they need to make rational decisions, and we haven't been getting that.
Now, Mayor Jackson, you know, at one time we did have in our city, we had grocery stores, we had gas stations, we had places to eat, restaurants, food places. It was a very flourishing place. When those people died out, their children chose not to come back and run those businesses.
There was a time.
I want to know what is it?
What is different?
Giving Texas A&M System the right to have that kind of control over our city is taking away power from the city.
You're missing the point. You're missing the point. There's before integration and after integration. Before integration, Prairie View University was involved in the black community. We did the Interscholastic League. We had all of the schools come here. We had all of the doctors, the lawyers, and educators would come to Prairie View and consult on how to move not only this university, but people that had come out of bondage forward. When desegregation hit, a whole nother game plan came into being. Prairie View had to redefine itself. It could no longer say it's here to help black people of black communities. It's got to help the bypass, the underserved. When I arrived here, it was just after desegregation had been established. We still can operate this campus with a dean of men and a dean of women and very few policemen. But once you change that, we have to now operate it with a police force. That's the difference. And so we got to study this phenomenon and say, what happened to us? When I go back to the small community I'm from of Luling, Texas, and I found out that when desegregation hit, it was shut down. The schools were shut down. And I went back looking for the records of the students of the Interscholastic League records. Those records had been taken over to the white school. When I asked the principal of the white school, where are the records? He couldn't look me in my eye. He said we had mold on them and rats got to them, so we had to take all this material to the city dump and burn it. So this happened not only in my hometown, but other places. Why? What's going on here? That you could destroy the records of all this history. So we got to look into this, and that's why we holding not only Prairie View, but the people that govern Prairie View accountable. You got to help us work through. That's what land grants were created for. They weren't just like Harvard or Yale or Princeton. They were designed to be the people's university. So anybody could come at the door and knock and say, Mr. Land Grant, I need your help. And those professors will get their grad students, go out into the community, do the research, bring it back, study what they found, and take that knowledge back to the community. So teaching, research, and service, that ebb and flow of knowledge, and we haven't been getting that.
Excuse me. So how did Prairie View end up under Texas A&M?
It was from the beginning. See, when they created Texas A&M University, that was in the Constitution of 1876. They created for white males only. Because we had African Americans in the Texas legislature. We had Walter Burton from down here in Fort Bend County as the state senator. We had Matthew Gaines from over across the river in Washington County. We had William Holland out of Hempstead. We even had George Wyatt out here in Wise County. Okay, well, hold on. I'm going to answer your question. Let me answer your question. Because those men were in the legislature, they called the tech. They said you cannot accept federal money and discriminate against other men, not women. They could discriminate against women, but you couldn't discriminate against men. So they had to come back on August 14th and create A&M College for Colored Youth, which is now Prairie View. But since they were forced to do that, they did not even believe that we were human. See, we came out of a condition of bondage where they could buy and sell us, buy and sell our children. So now you're asking them to treat you fairly and equally? No. The first presidency of both A&M and Prairie View was offered to Jefferson Davis, the former president of the Confederate States of America. But he couldn't come. He said, but I'm going to send you a man out of Mississippi. So he sent the former Grand Master of the Masonic Lodge of Mississippi, Thomas Garthright, who came into Texas as our first president of black schools. He told him to bring a colored man to be the principal of Prairie View. He brought L.W. Minor. So L.W. Minor, that street that runs in front of this very building we stand in, came on the recommendation of Jefferson Davis.
But what about G.W. Wyatt? Elaborate on him.
Well, we can talk about George Wyatt. George Wyatt was elected in the 1880s, but then there was a systematic process of running these guys out of office. when they shut it down. The last Reconstruction era legislator to serve in the state of Texas was Robert Lloyd Smith. He came to this campus in 1897 as part of a delegation in celebration of the inauguration of Edward L. Blacksher. When on the stage that day was Saul Ross, Edward L. Blacksher, Booker T. Washington, and R.L. Smith. When Mr. Smith left the stage that day, he would be the last Reconstruction era legislator to serve in Texas from 1899 to 1966 with the election of Barbara Jordan and Curtis
Okay,
Gray.
what about
So you've asked enough.
So on the point, you asked the question about, you talked about the Board of Regents. Have you communicated, the governor appoints the Board of Regents.
Correct.
Have y'all communicated to the governor in his office about appointing a Prairie View A&M graduate to the Board of Regents?
So we have legislators like Boris Miles, Ron Reynolds, Jarvis Johnson, Senator Ross West trying to set up a meeting with the governor. This is, if you remember the plan, those of you that attended the town hall meeting, number one was to meet with the chancellor. And that was very important because the students was concerned that Ruth was not going to be at the commencement. So that was a win-win situation. Remember, number two was the state of Texas. That's the governor. And so we're working at it. Number three is the PUF fund, UTEMCO, okay, in which the board of directors are made up, the University of Texas and Texas A&M. And last but not least, that think tank to come up with the advantages and disadvantages and find out, does it make sense to stay under the system?
That's it for me.
All right.
I've got one.
Thank you.
If we could make sure we include. Politics is fine.
First of all, who are you?
Oh, my name is
They're
David
watching the
Allen.
live stream, so they don't know.
Sure. My name is David Allen. I'm the former mayor, number 10 of the city of Prairie View, and a proud Prairie View A&M graduate. The political component obviously is important because the governor and other politicians are involved. But as you said, Mr. Martin, when you say legal, you need to say discrimination, because difference in treatment is what we're saying is taking place, and discrimination hits the University of Texas and the Texas A&M system in their wallet, which is what concerns them the most. Just like the Office of Civil Rights, that's difference in treatment. Prairie View and TSU are being discriminated against. We need them to either treat us fairly, or because of their discrimination, let us go and give us what we're due from the PUF and the AUF funds.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Roland. Y'all give it up for Roland, y'all. All right, so if you have, I mean, we offline now, so we still can entertain questions if you have any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Make sure that